Welcome to another Progressus Connect. We're very glad to have you here today and hope you are getting ready for a wonderful holiday season. Today, as usual, it's the same suspects as usual. My name is Jeff Suen. I'm going to do the introduction, and then we're going to turn it over to the star of the moment or star of the day, as always, Kim Bateson, our product owner for Progressus. And then we also have Linda Contreras here as well. So thank you to everyone for taking your time out of your busy December to come learn about some new items around Progressus. Just to give you kind of a recap, we have different types of presentations that we give. For example, Progressus Connect is focused on usually one or two features where we kind of give you a little bit more in-depth information about that and then allow for your questions, whether that's during the session or after the session, to learn a little bit more about those. So the things we're going to talk today, we're going to talk about cash flow forecast. You might go, Jeff, we've already got that in BC. Good point, we do, but how does Progressus now interact with the cash flow forecast process? And the next thing we'll talk about is the expense price changes. We'll get a chance for you guys to ask questions and then give you information about the next upcoming events that we'll have as we go into 2026. So welcome, thank you again. As we get to the end of the session, and we'll get to the questions, if you want to go ahead and ask a question, we will be able to. You can activate your microphone, type a text if you're having an issue. We'll either read your chat or we'll help you with getting your microphone so you can ask us questions after Kim goes through the demo. So the first topic we're going to talk about is the cash flow forecast. So cash flow forecast, what's that real value around it? So the idea behind it is to provide organizations a clear view of expected cash inflows, what we're going to be getting and what we're going to be paying out over a designated period of time. Obviously, the benefit of this is knowing how much we're getting and giving out over a time frame. We can enable us to provide financial management, and it allows us to understand, well, what's going to be happening over this time frame, whether it's the next month, the next quarter, and so forth. Examples, obviously, you can kind of guess what the benefits are. Ensures the company maintains sufficient cash to meet obligations that you know you're going to be coming up with. Hey, we know that we need to be paying out for something. This is letting me know what will be coming in and going out. Decision making, predicting your future cash positions. So you'll know exactly what you're going to be in the next coming months or coming quarter. Risk mitigation identifies potential shortfalls early. So if I can forecast what I know is going to be coming in and out based on the projects now that we're working on, then I can understand what I might need to make some adjustments. And cost optimization, aligning cash availability with payment schedules. So just some simple kind of high level, like, why would I think about cash flow forecasting? Hopefully you are. But what we're going to do now is that we have made changes to Progressus to work with that cash flow process. And we're going to turn it over to Kim, where she's going to walk you through the process. And then she's going to give you a demo and show you all the different ways that you can work with this inside of Progressus. With that, Kim, I turn it over to you.
So this slide represents general setup and use of the Business Central cash flow module or features. And the squares in green are places where we have added functionality to leverage Progressus data. So we have added accounts available in the cash flow setup, and we have also added different project scenarios in the cash flow worksheet. So we'll go through those together and you'll see how they all work together. To start off, just as a screenshot to give you some context, for the cash flow worksheet in Business Central, they allow you to load data into the worksheet based off of data in other places of the product. So there are payables and receivables and things like that that are already baked into the cash flow worksheet. Progressus has then added some different scenarios so then you can have the data in Progressus also be included on those worksheets. So I highlighted the 6 areas that we highlight new changes. The planning lines, we'll bring the prices over. If you have project budgets, we would bring those prices over as inflows. Subscription orders, it would project out the subscription orders through whatever end date that you define and bring those over as projected inflows as well. And then schedule billings and project ledger entries. The value of the project ledger entries is we would bring over unbilled time and expense lines that have a remaining amount on them. So then you could see those as projected future revenue income and cash flows. So let's go through. This is just a highlight of what changes we've added and the data points that would be included. So planning lines that are created, we would pull over. In all scenarios, we're bringing over price as inflow. We have not added any costs as outflows, but we are open to making those changes based off of the scenarios that customers would like to use and how that might benefit them. So first and foremost are the planning lines. We also have a scenario where the budget price would be brought over, and we'd be looking for chargeable entries in the budget entries table to find out which ones to bring over. And we'd also bring over scheduled billing budgets as well with those prices. For subscription orders, we would be bringing unposted subscription orders with the assumption if it's already posted, that would be showing in your receivable cash flow worksheet already. Scheduled billings, the same thing. We would only look for unposted scheduled billings. But ones that have been posted but not invoiced, we would not include into the cash flow projection with the assumption you would be invoicing that shortly anyway. And then the project ledger entries, again, we're looking at price at this point in time. We'll look at chargeable entries only, and we're looking for the remaining amount on those chargeable entries. We've also added some fields to the cash flow setup. I will show you those during the demo, but for each of the scenarios you see, so there's a account option for each one of the scenarios we have added. So that way those could flow to a different cash flow account if you desire. So I'm going to go through a demo here for you and allow you to see how the product works. So the first thing we will do is just search for cash flow worksheet. And then once you get to the cash flow worksheet, this worksheet is a planning area where you can load transactions in from other places in the product throughout Business Central. And then once you've decided which worksheet scenarios you want to use and you view them, then you can register them for your forecasting. So you'll see here, there are only 4 lines in my worksheet at the moment. And I'm going to do the planning line for all of our options. So planning lines here is one of them. We're going to add project budgets, subscription order, and I'm going to choose subscription orders through the end of the year. I'm also going to turn on the ability to bring over scheduled billing lines, and I'm going to bring project ledger entries as well. So when this is run, you see now we have more records in our worksheet. And I want to go through each one of these scenarios so you can better see what kind of data you'll see in here and help evaluate what you're seeing in the screen. So for the presentation purposes, I'm going to add through personalization an additional field we've put on the screen. I don't think you need it day to day to process, but I want to show you the field and how to access it. So I'm going into personalization. I'm going to add a field up at the top. And the project source type is the field I'm going to add. So we'll drag it over to my column so I can see it. And you'll notice that the source type for the first 4 lines say project planning, and then the lines after that say project budgeting. So now I'll show you each of the results of each scenario we picked when we ran the worksheet process. So I'm going to close my personalization, and I'm just going to filter to project planning lines. So the first thing to understand and notice is that the source number for all project scenarios is the project ID. So when you see project source number, that is the project ID within Progressus. The description will automatically also show you which scenario generated this record. So these 4 records were created from the project planning scenario. And they also, each description will include a date, and that date comes from the data that it uses to populate the screen. So we'll show it here in a second. The other nice thing, for every transaction that's brought into the worksheet, there is a drill down to see the source data. So I'm going to choose excuse me, show on my worksheet, and that takes me to the planning line. So because the planning line was the source point for this data, it takes me to the planning line that was used to create the line onto the project worksheet or the cash flow worksheet. So you'll see here the planning line is for 1/1/23, so that's why it contains that date on the worksheet. And the other thing is that it has a price of $2,001.60. So this $2,001.60 will become the cash inflow that we report on the worksheet. We could in the future include costs if you wanted us to do that. If that's a scenario that makes sense, we'd be glad to add that in future releases. At this point, we've just started with the price. So I'm back out of here. And so that $2,001.60 shows as a cash inflow. Now I'm going to change to look at the project budget scenario. So I filtered on my project source type of project budget. As you can see, the document number in this instance is the active budget version. So we will only pull over project budget entry records for the active budget version. You can also see that the description says project budget income. So that's basically designating that this is the price on your project budget entry. Again, it shows the transaction data, the budget entry, as well as the project. So these will be grouped by the project, the date, and the type of entry. So when I drill down, oh, first that's my cash flow date, and that's my amount. So there's $40 here. And when I drill down to that $40, you'll notice there's actually 2 lines that support this one cash flow worksheet record. There are 2 scheduled billing lines. Both have the date of 8/7. So that's why they were included with the date of 8/7 on the cash flow worksheet. And you will notice that they both have the price of 30 plus 10 equals 40. And that is the amount that comes into the cash flow worksheet then as an inflow. I'm going to clear this filter and I'm going to add the filter over on the left so I can show you other scenarios a little more easily. So I came over here and now you have the project source. So I just moved this activated project source filter over here. So now I'm going to look, we've already looked at project budget and project planning lines. We'll now look at subscription orders. So there are several lines that loaded from my subscription order. I'm going to show the source of those. So again, it drives me back to my subscription order subpage. You'll notice here that there's a quantity of 4 on this specific subscription order, and it is for every second month. So 2 months, every 2 months is what the interval is for the subscription order to create a billing, starting on February 1st, 2023. So, and then those subscription orders, when it creates a subscription order, it'll be for $722 as the price. So when I go back to my transactions, I'm going to expand my description column so you can see a little bit more information here. So now you can see we created a cash flow projection for each one of those subscription orders for every 2 months. So it's following the cadence that the subscription order was created, will be created for when it's generated, and it's projecting the cash inflow from that subscription order for those months each time. So you see one for the February 1st, April 1st, June 1st, and so forth. Now we'll take a minute and we'll look at what scheduled billings data looks like when it comes over to the cash flow forecast. So for this scenario, the document number is the scheduled billing ID or number. So this is my scheduled billing number 2 that I have in my created. And it also includes, it's for $20. And you'll see that, again, the description says project schedule billing. So I know the scenario that generated it. The project ID is in there as well as the anticipated date. This happens to be for a recurring schedule billing as well. So I will show you that. So not only subscription orders do we project through the future billings, but we also project through the future billings if you have a progress billing that has a frequency as well. So you'll see on this frequency, it's every month for 12 months, and the amount is $20 for each billing. So when I go back here, you'll see there's in the description, there's a date of 10/9, 11/9, 12/9. So all of those again are for every date of the anticipated schedule billing. For schedule billing, we're only looking for unposted ones. As I mentioned earlier, the assumption is if you've already posted it, you've already billed it, and we wouldn't want to use it in our projections. The last one is project ledger entry. So again, we put in the description, the scenario that was used from the worksheet interface. And here we're going to, again, display the project and the date of the transaction. So these are only unbilled project ledger entries that have a remaining balance on them. Whatever the remaining balance is, that's the value we're going to use. And we use that date. And so the document number will give you the reference of the document number from the project ledger entry. And if you do show, you'll see that this is the project ledger entry for the date of 2/1/23. And the price is $1,250. So when I go back to my scenario on the worksheet, it does create a $1,250 projected inflow for me. Now, how does this data work? So we've leveraged Progressus data, and now Business Central functionality will be valuable to us. The other thing that we did is add the ability to have a different cash flow account on your setup for each one of these scenarios. I will show in a minute where you see that and how it's used, but I just wanted to highlight that is the other change that we made. So you could set up as many different or 4 or 5 different cash flow accounts, or you can use one common account like we're doing here. Now I want to look at my cash flow forecast to see how is this data used by the system. So under each cash flow forecast scenario, there is a statistics page. So this is a flow field that gives you all the data to generate your or to understand your projected cash flows. As you can see right now, I don't have any data. Even though I ran the worksheet, it is 0 for projects. So why is that 0? If I go back to the cash flow worksheet, the data is still in the worksheet and has not been registered yet. So registering your cash flow worksheet data will then allow it to be visible under your statistics and other reporting. Once you register it, it removes it from the worksheet. And now if I go back to my card, I can now see that data under the statistic page. If you find that you don't like this amount and you want to redo it, you can just reload the worksheet with different scenarios and re-register those new amounts, and those will replace the statistics you see in this page. I can drill down. So those same worksheet lines are now available as actually cash flow entries. So you see the same data we were looking at previously. And we still have the show option even after the transactions are converted to actual cash flow register lines. And you can drill down to see the source of those records as well. Business Central has the statistics page, which you can use as a drill down here as well. They also have a cash flow data list report. And as you can tell here, our projects number flows into their project column. So all their standard fields and reports will work with our data. And cash flow ledger entries is another thing that you can search on and use. Again, we've seen these a couple times. They're just accessible from multiple ways of access. So I'd like to revisit the idea of these accounts and why do we, what's the value of using different accounts or the same accounts? So we've used the same account. I'll show you where that data flows to once it's registered to the cash flow forecast. So I'm going to change my setting. I'm going to go in as an accountant. And when you have an accountant role center, if you go to cash flow management, there are several cash flow options available to you. I'm going to show you the chart, cash flow chart, sorry, chart of cash flow accounts. But you can see you can also add manual cash flows, manual expenses as you need as well. So it's more robust than just bringing our data in. You can also do projections of your own based on things you know that are going to happen in the system. If I open the cash flow chart, you'll see that same $2 million has come in, and that has come into this account. So if you wanted to track your project budgets to a different account or your planning lines or any of those different scenarios we've outlined, they can have their own account. So then you can have a little bit more visibility here as to what each scenario brings to your cash flow. And again, we have the drill down to the cash flow ledger entries. And there's one other thing I wanted to highlight. There is a cash flow forecast chart part on the accountant role center. So again, I wanted to show you that the project data does show here, and they have a lot of choices as to how that chart part will present and what's included on the chart. So there's a lot of flexibility here that you can use once the data is in the system. So in theory, you would have receivable data in here, you could have payables, things like that as well, in addition to your project data, so you'd get a comprehensive view of your anticipated cash. And I think that's the end of my demo.
Great stuff, Kim. That's really cool. So prior to this feature, all that stuff that you did with being able to add things to your cash flow is not possible today.
Right. The only option is planning lines, and the
Okay.
planning lines is incomplete because it's based off of standard BC planning lines and not how we use planning lines with Progressus.
Okay. Very great. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Kim, we have a question from Mark Ferrero.
Yeah.
Can this data be exported to Power BI, or are there any out-of-box Power BI reports related to cash flow?
From a Progressus perspective, we have not included the cash flow reports in our standard BI reports that we offer. I am not sure if there's any just standard BI reports that have it already because it is standard Business Central data. But you could pull it into any BI reports you have because it's all stored in a table. So it could be, if that table's just brought into your Power BI, then you can definitely report off of that as well. Do you have any other questions?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. So now that you've seen what it does and kind of understand what the mechanics are of it, I wanted to kind of talk through what could be some use case scenarios that you can consider for your company. So one thing is, if you don't use planning lines, planning lines might be an option where if you created planning lines, we would go ahead and you could use that scenario to forecast your cash flow. You wouldn't have to use planning lines, or if you already do use planning lines, they can be leveraged. The other thing is you could create budgets in your system. And I think I would like feedback from customers on, would you use all these scenarios together, or would you use a specific scenarios in isolation? Because there's could be some data that would be pulled in more than one scenario. For instance, you can create your cash flow based off your budgets. So in theory, you could put all your budgets in for your projects and then run the cash flow scenario for project budget. So then you would have a great idea of what your project income would be for each project for the entire year or whatever the quarter, whatever time frame you want. All this is time based because it is date driven. It collects the date that's anticipated. So if your budgets are accurately forecast with dates, then you can use that for your cash flow analysis. Things to just be aware of, because planning lines can also have budget entries. You would want to be careful to evaluate, is it makes sense for you to use both budget and planning lines if you duplicate that data, because budgets can feed to planning lines or planning lines can feed to budgets both ways. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're evaluating your data. The same thing with schedule billings. Schedule billings can be used to generate budget lines. And also we have a scenario for project budgets and we have a scenario for schedule billings. So just be aware that there may be the same data pop up in both scenarios if you use them in tandem. I think this is a great tool for you to leverage and identify what your subscription order and cash inflow will be based on those, because it can project out as far as you want based on the subscription orders you have set up. And also, if you have timesheet entries that have been posted and you want to know what kind of cash flow will I get from those timesheets in the future, because we focus just on unbilled timesheets and we look at the price on that, you'll be able to easily tell what your cash flow will be from your time and expense entries. I would love feedback from you guys as to, would you like us to include budget cost as outflows? Would you like us to include planning cost as outflows? Would you like us to look at subcontracts at all? So if you have ideas or you want to just pop it in the chat today, if there's certain scenarios that you think you would love to use or that we included or didn't include, we'd love to have your thoughts. We started with income just because the more scenarios we include, it may clutter the user interface a little bit. So we wanted to just strategically include the ones that make offer the most value to all of our customers. All right, let's look at expenses as well. So I just want to highlight a few expense changes we've made to the product. We have added the expense price template. And we've also given you the ability to set up expense prices that do not require an expense code. So what does that mean to you? Expense price template. So let's say you mark up all your expenses by 20% across the board, and you don't have a specific markup for travel or a different markup for meals or a different markup for something else. So currently, without these changes, you would have to designate by expense code what that markup is in the expense price setup. Whereas now, because we do not require the expense code, you can set up one line and say, this applies essentially to all my expenses. This is, oh, yeah. And it also allows you to, that's the requirement for the other one, sorry. And you can improve your efficiency by setting up prices. Let's say you have customer specific rates. So you mark up 20% for one customer and 25% for another. The expense price screen does not have the customer field. However, you can you could set up an expense template for customer ABC. And every time you set up a project, you just use the template to automatically load those markups for that project. So you don't have to manually set them up for your projects every time. So it makes it really easy to configure them on the project immediately. By using templates, you'll be able to increase the accuracy of prices because you don't have to manually set things up again, and it allows you to easily reuse your prices. And it works similar to currently our resource price template, which I think is used quite frequently. So we added this functionality in several places. We added the template within the setup template area. We also added it to the prices. So if you have existing template or existing prices already on a project, you can save those prices to a template and then use that to get the prices later on a future project as well. And we also added it to our import project screen. So just like we have our resource prices as a template that we can automatically apply to a new project, when you create it, you can do the same thing in the import project. It would also be used by the copy project feature we have. So if there's a template involved, a expense price template on that, we would copy that to the new project as well for you. The expense code not required. That's where I started last time on that first sentence. So this is the example where you have the ability to set up an expense code and you don't need to put the expense code on the line. So you'll see the first line and like the 7th line does not have the expense code. So that first line for 1125 is saying that I'm going to mark up all my expenses the same for 20% for every type of expense that I have. I also have for the PGS2 line here, this one does not have an expense code either. So this is saying for all projects, I'm going to use 20%, but this expense code PGS for project PGS2, I'm going to mark it up 25% for all my expenses on that project. So when you use project PGS2, it would use 25%, but then for all other projects, it would use 20%. There are hierarchies as well. So if you define something specific by expense code, that takes priority over the more generic line. So I will show you here. This is a busy slide, but when you get the deck, you can review it a little bit more. But this is an example of the blue line says that I'm marking up 20% for every project, unless there's an exception. So project PGS3, it used the 20% markup. The cost is $100, but the price is $120 because there was no other line that applied to PGS3. So it took that price. Whereas PGS2 here on this line has a specific line where there's, so it markup is 25%. So you see this first line with its green on my expense report, marked it up 25% instead of 20. And then I have another one that's not project and a higher date for hotel specifically. So it just flat out used the cost of $48 and a price of $48 because my price and costs are the same. So that one took priority over the more generic non-expense code line. So we just wanted to let you know what's available and how you might be able to leverage these and better see how they could be used on your expense reports and your setup. So the business value is if you have a rate that applies to all your expense types, that's a really not omitting the expense code might be very valuable to you. Or it also allows you to set up an expense code or a markup for all your expenses for one project, which is the examples I just gave. All right, Mr. Jeff.
So, Kim, another great feature. Again, we've got a few minutes left for you guys to ask questions, so feel free to type them into the chat. Linda and I will be monitoring to help Kim answer that. With that, I'm going to go through a couple of things to get you ready for next year and also to do some reminders as well. The first thing is hopefully you're all very aware of this, the docs.progressivesoftware.com site that we've created. It is your one-stop shop. Hey, how do I do this? Where do I check out? How do I take this? This is the page to start. If you've got a new employee, it's a great place for them to get started. It's the online help, which we continually update. Again, one thing to note is if you find something that's missing from the help, there's a spot in the help for you to write, hey, I was trying to look for this and I couldn't find it. That comes right to us. We can make our adjustments and we update this frequently. The neat thing, the Progressus AI chat, if you haven't tried it, it's a great place to start because I'm not really sure where this feature is, but I want to be able to, and it allows you to type in plain English here what you're looking for, and it'll search through our help and help you find it. Our progressive support that's available to you, our learning portal. If you want to learn how to use the solution, we have a place for your new or existing people to learn the solution, and it'll walk you through a week by week process of going through the entire product. And you can go at your own pace, keep track of where you are in that whole learning process as well. Want to have some fun? I'd like to, late night doom scroll on YouTube. Well, we've got that for you as well. You can go ahead and look at all your YouTube channels and see the latest things about what we've done in Progressus. There's many different videos kind of going from all sides and all parts of the product. And then it talks about what we're talking about today, our how to get connected with Progressus, how to connect to Kim, to Linda, myself, our release notes, and advanced resources that we have available. So if you haven't checked it out before, it is a great place to start. Whether you're new and existing customer of Progressus, it's a great place to go to kind of understand, hey, I've got a question. Who do I go to? Where can I go? This is kind of your starting point.
Jeff, I want to add the advanced resources area of this is where you can request the Power BI report. So there's a request form there where you just type in your name, your company, and you can request the BI report, and we will send you an email that has a link to that report and you can deploy it in your environment.
Excellent. Excellent. Great point, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized I didn't put myself on camera. Sorry, I'm talking in as a blank. Pardon me. Some reminders and upcoming events. Um, the December release, it comes out really, really soon. So be on the lookout for that. One really cool reason why you need to look at it is all that cool workflow worksheet stuff that Kim showed off will be releasing in the upcoming December release. Kim, when is that release supposed to be out?
It should be available on next Wednesday.
Next week. Next week. Okay. So be on the lookout for that. So she gave you your early present of cool features, and you'll be able to pick that up starting next week. Other areas that we've added, WIP for BC% includes purchase documents not invoiced. That's new. And then a common code for project creation. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have about, and Kim's going to correct me, 5 or 10 different ways you can create a project, from wizards to importing to all these different ways. And for a while, the way that you would create it was basically 5 or 6 different ways that you could get to the code. Well, we've created one common code for project creation. Why is that important? Well, a lot of our customers are need to get data into the solution. They want one way to do it. This common code for project creation will make it easier. If you are importing data from somewhere else, no matter how you do it, it's going to use that same type of code to create your project. So very, very cool.
And with that, if you have customizations to the project creation process, going forward, you'll be able to change one place, and then those customizations will apply to all the project creation methods. So that's also a value. Now, this common code unit is available in the December release, but we do not turn it on in case you do have customizations. We don't want to disrupt your project creation process, but I encourage you to turn on the feature and use it similar to what we did with enhanced invoicing. So there's a Progressus project management feature page. You can go to that page and turn on the new code, the project code creation, to use it in your site and evaluate it with your customizations.
Excellent. Thanks, Kim.
Mhm.
Three other items. One, our advisory board is coming up in February. I think we have a slide on this next, but basically the advisory board is much different than what we do today. This is about Kim giving us knowledge and us being able to react to this. This advisory board is kind of the opposite, right? We're looking for your input on a specific topic. Now, the topic is AI. You could probably expect there's lots of things. We have lots of ideas of how we can use AI inside of the product that we can kind of give you at a high level, but we're really looking for your feedback. You know, what's going to make a difference in your process? Is it being able to ask the question to show me projects that are over budget? Is it the ability to upload a document and create something from it? We've got lots of scenarios in our mind, but we want to work with you as our advisory board to kind of get your feedback, because we like to, as you know, we like to get your feedback on things that are going to help you, but also help other people as well. So we'll be having that in the February timeframe.
And that's
And
available
then,
to any customers who want to join us. Anyone can sign up to do that.
yep. And then we'll do a lunch and learn, which, if you remember, our lunch and learns are, unlike the Progressus Connect, where we really only focus on one or two. The lunch and learns are kind of, hey, what's been going on for the last 6 months? So we gave this back in the June, July timeframe. We kind of gave you like, hey, this is what we've added over this last 6 months. We give you that 1 hour. Here are all the cool things that we've added over the last 6 months to make you aware, because there's a lot. And as you guys know, we release every month, so there's always something new that we're adding and enhancing to the product. This gives you a way to kind of catch up as well. And last but not least, but we're always looking for referenceable customers and partners. Your experience with Progressus is very important to us. Kim and team want to know how things are going. We want to know where we can improve, but also we'd love to get you as a reference to be able to let other people know the great things about Progressus. If you are looking and are interested in doing that, you see Kim's email address is available right here for you to reach out to her and say, yes, I'd be interested in it. It's not a hard process. It's very quick. And we'll go ahead and set you up with our marketing team to help out with that. So we would greatly appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Nope, sorry. I bumped something.
All right. And I think this kind of talks about, again, what we just talked about for the advisory board. So I think we are at the end of our time. Linda, any additional questions that came in?
No additional questions.
Okay. I think I see, are there two questions on the Academy?
I didn't see
So
that.
the ability, I'm looking here at the chat. If you guys take a peek
Nope.
at the chat. There's one
Oh
here
yeah,
at,
there were additional questions. I'm sorry
yeah.
about that.
So if you look at the
Mhm.
chat right there, we have two items here. So we have, there's a question, do you need to activate it? Let's see. Can the data that's being stored by Power BI or Cache, we talked about that already. Do you need to activate it with a feature? I think it's supposed to be feature pack, or does it work with the old model? And I'm wondering if that is about the Power BI report. Not quite sure what that question is on.
So the
So I
cash
thought,
flow data will work with the new cash flow features will just work out of the box
yeah.
when it comes out because it's just new options in the cash flow. The Power BI, you would just have to add those data points to your BI reports to leverage the data within those.
Oh, it was around the expense price was
Oh,
the
okay.
question.
What's the question again?
Do you need to activate it with a, where do you activate the feature for the
Oh,
expense price?
the expense prices were just changes we made in the product. They're not really disruptive changes to anyone who's previously using the product. So
Okay.
if it's just a new feature that can work seamlessly with existing customers, it's already there. You just have to get on the release that it was provided. There's been a couple releases over the last few months that the templates and the price changes, I think, were in October and November timeframe is when we provided those.
Yep. There's another question about the Progressus Academy or the thing. Reach out to Linda. It is still there. If you're having questions or not able to access the online course, you see Linda's name right there. If you want to email her directly and ask her, it should still be available to you if you had it in the past. Please feel free to reach out to Linda and ask her. And
I
then
think
the
I think
last,
we're calling it, I'm sorry, we're calling it boot camp. So in case you're looking under academy, it would be under the Progressus boot camp.
yep,
But just feel free to reach out to me and I'll get you connected.
yep. And then someone's asking about the Power BI dashboards,
Oh,
as in what's been changed, because I know that we recently just did a new way to make that Power BI reports available inside of Business Central. Has the reports themselves changed a little bit, Kim, over the last year?
Not significantly. So we just exposed those reports and made them accessible from within the Roll Center.
So
There's some
we'd also,
steps you need, go ahead.
go ahead.
There's some steps you need to do to make them available in the Roll Center that if you go to that advanced features that I mentioned earlier, that's where you can request the report. And I think in the online, in the help document with that, there's some content about how to deploy it, as well as on our online help site has some information about deploying it.
And if you have any feedback on the Power BI reports on additional things that you would like us to add to them, please feel free to reach out to us. We're always looking for new ideas, new areas that we can enhance what we currently have, whether that's a feature or that's a Power BI report. We're always looking for those type of things. So thank you for that. All right. I think we've answered all the questions. This is how you can connect with. You also see we have a LinkedIn page as well. You can go to us on LinkedIn, join our group. Every time we do a release like we do next week, we're going to automatically update and put all the notes up there. So you're feel free to join us and kind of keep on track on what's going on. With that, Kim, thank you so much for sharing all this great information as always. Thank you, Linda, for being here as well. And thank you to everyone. Have a great holiday season. And we look forward to talking to you in the new year.
Thank you.